Hey everybody, and welcome back to Explain This to Me. I think this deep dive is really going to be right up your alley. We're going to be unlocking the Great Exhibition of 1851. We're talking a palace made of glass and groundbreaking inventions, and millions of people all coming together to witness it all.
It really is amazing to think about how ambitious this whole event was. Just imagine this. The very first World's Fair right in London's Hyde Park.
Yeah. Hyde Park was completely transformed. From May 1st to October 15th, 1851, it was a global showcase. It was the brainchild of Prince Albert, Queen Victoria's husband, and a group of people who were basically the tech giants of their day. This wasn't just about showing off technology, though. It was more like making a statement.
Absolutely. This was Britain after the Industrial Revolution. Things were changing rapidly all across Europe. It was Britain's way of showing off a bit, like saying to the world, hey, look what we can do.
And they did it in a way that nobody could miss. I mean, they built a palace out of glass. Can you even imagine? The Crystal Palace. It was designed by Joseph Paxton. And get this, he was a greenhouse architect. Talk about a career change.
It's brilliant, though, when you think about it. I mean, who better to design something like that? Someone who already understands light and space and structure. Paxton took that knowledge and built this incredible structure, over 1,800 feet long, mostly iron and glass.
And they even put full-grown trees inside. It must have been like walking into some magical forest from the future. And the fact that they built the whole thing in just 9 months, that's incredible.
The logistics are mind-boggling, a real feat of engineering. And it really symbolized the whole point of the exhibition, that humans can achieve anything. Sadly, it moved later on and was destroyed in a fire in 1936. But the Crystal Palace is still an iconic building.
It's like the Crystal Palace was the very first exhibit, setting the stage for everything else. Over 13,000 exhibitors from around the world were there, bringing all kinds of things with them.
And this wasn't just any old stuff. They brought cutting-edge machines, incredible textiles, beautiful art, and cultural treasures from all over the globe. It was like a miniature world all under one roof.
So tell me, what were some of the things that really stood out? What were people talking about back then?
Oh, there were so many. They had the Koh-i-Noor diamond from India, one of the largest diamonds in the world at that time. But it wasn't just the size. This diamond had a long history, passed from ruler to ruler. It was a symbol of power, but also the problems of colonialism. Even in all this celebration of progress, you could see the dark side of empire.
I never thought about it like that. So even with all the beauty, there were difficult truths on display, too.
Exactly. And speaking of innovation, with a bit of a dark side, Samuel Colt was there, demonstrating his new revolvers. Can you imagine seeing that firsthand, this new technology that would change warfare?
That's a big contrast to a diamond. It shows you the whole spectrum of what was happening, from beautiful things to the more dangerous side of technology.
Exactly. And get this, there was even an early prototype of a fax machine there.
Wait, a fax machine? In 1851? That's incredible.
I know. It's amazing to think that the technology we use today had its beginnings back then. It's obviously very basic. But people were getting a glimpse of the future. A future where communication could happen instantly across long distances. It must have seemed like science fiction to them.
It really makes you think about how far we've come, but also how connected we are to the past. So we've got diamonds, guns, fax machines. What else was there?
Well, this one might not seem as exciting, but they also had the very first pay toilets at the exhibition. And some people believe that's where the phrase spend a penny comes from.
Wow, that's a fun fact. And it makes me realize that this wasn't just for the wealthy elite. You said millions of people visited.
You're right. Over 6 million visitors. That was a third of the entire population of Britain at the time. They had special train tickets so that everyone could come, not just the rich people. The organizers wanted everyone to celebrate.
That's really impressive. So it was more than just showing off new inventions. It was about creating a sense of shared progress.
Absolutely. And that's one of the most important things that came out of the exhibition. The profits from it were used to create some of London's most famous museums, the Victoria and Albert Museum, the Science Museum, and the Natural History Museum.
Wow. So those museums are here because of a palace made of glass and a bunch of cool inventions.
That's right. The people who organized the exhibition had a vision. They weren't just thinking about the present, they were investing in the future, in places that would continue to inspire and educate people for years to come.
That's amazing. It's like they bottled up the spirit of the exhibition and created something even bigger.
So besides the museums, what other impact did it have? Was there anything people could take home to remember it all?
They had these things called stereoscopic cards. They were like early 3D images so you could remember the exhibition.
Hold on, 3D images back then. How did that even work?
Well, they printed 2 photos of the same scene on these cards, but slightly different. And when you looked through a special viewer, a stereoscope, the images merged together and looked 3D. That's pretty cool. Like the old red and blue 3D glasses. It's amazing how those simple things could capture people's imagination.
Yeah, and don't forget, photography was pretty new then too, so these cards weren't just souvenirs. They were like a glimpse into the future of technology.
It makes you wonder what a great exhibition would be like today. What would be the big inventions and things?
That's a good question. Imagine a huge exhibition hall with AI, robots, maybe even space travel, things that would have blown people's minds back then.
And think about how global it would be. With the internet and everything, we could have ideas and art from everywhere, all in one place.
I like that idea. And maybe there would be a virtual part of it too, so people could experience it from anywhere. Virtual reality tours, live streams, online forums, everyone could be a part of it.
A virtual great exhibition, that's a fantastic idea. Anyone with the internet could join in. It would really bring people together.
You know, it's important to remember, not everyone loved the Great Exhibition. Some people said it was all about progress and ignored the problems. They said it forgot about the working class people, who were the ones who actually made Britain so successful.
That's a good point. It's easy to get excited about new things and forget about the people who were left behind. The exhibition showed what humans could do, but it also showed how unfair things were back then.
Exactly, and that's something we still need to think about today. We have amazing technology. But is everyone benefiting from it? Are we building a future that's fair for all?
These are important questions. It's like looking at history from different angles. We can celebrate the good things, but also recognize the problems. Progress isn't always a straight line.
That's right. And that's why studying history is so important. It's not just about dates and facts. It's about understanding how things got to be the way they are, so we can make better choices for the future.
So what does all this mean for you, our listeners? We hope this deep dive has sparked your curiosity. Not just about Victorian England, but about the role of innovation in our lives today.
We hope it's giving you a new perspective on the connections between the past and present, and the possibilities for the future.
What's really interesting is that the Great Exhibition wasn't just about showing off the best things. It was about encouraging progress and connecting people from all over the world.
Exactly, and that's something we can all try to do, no matter who we are or what we do.
That's so true. Maybe this episode will inspire you to explore your own city. You never know what amazing history you might find.
And if you want to learn even more about the Great Exhibition, you should look for the original illustrated catalog. It's full of amazing drawings and descriptions. It's like taking a trip back in time.
I might have to do that. Thanks for sharing all this with us.
My pleasure. It's always fun to talk about these big moments in history and see how they still affect us today.
And to all our listeners, thanks for joining us on Explain This to Me. We hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the Great Exhibition of 1851.
Until next time, keep exploring and asking questions.
What's really interesting is that the Great Exhibition wasn't just about showing off the best things. It was about encouraging progress and connecting people from all over the world.
Exactly. And that's something we can all try to do, no matter who we are or what we do.
That's so true. Maybe this episode will inspire you to explore your own city. You never know what amazing history you might find.
And if you want to learn even more about the Great Exhibition, you should look for the original illustrated catalog. It's full of amazing drawings and descriptions. It's like taking a trip back in time.
I might have to do that. Thanks for sharing all this with us.
My pleasure. It's always fun to talk about these big moments in history and see how they still affect us today.
And to all our listeners, thanks for joining us on Explain This to Me. We hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the Great Exhibition of 1851.
Until next time, keep exploring and asking questions.